Imagine you are sitting alone in a quiet room, feeling the stillness around you. The weight of silence is heavy, and yet the thoughts in your mind keep swirling. Have you ever felt truly alone, even when surrounded by people? Is there a moment when it feels like the world is moving on without you, leaving you in the background? And most importantly, what do you do when you feel like no one really understands your struggles? These are questions we all face at different points in life. But what if there was a way to find peace in solitude? It's easy to feel that loneliness is a curse, something to be avoided at all costs. Society teaches us that we must always be connected, surrounded by others, or else we're incomplete. But what if aloneness isn't something to fear? What if, instead, it holds a key to personal growth and inner peace? Imagine seeing solitude as a space for reflection, for reconnecting with yourself, and for finding deeper meaning in the midst of isolation. Think about this. How often do you look to others to fill that empty space inside? How many times have you waited for someone to come and rescue you from loneliness? But what if the greatest answer lies not outside, but within? The teachings of Buddha offer profound wisdom on how to transform loneliness into an opportunity for growth. His teachings guide us on how to truly understand and embrace ourselves, even when we are alone. Welcome to this special journey on Wisdom Woven, where we explore how Buddhist wisdom can offer a new perspective on solitude and help you navigate feelings of loneliness. This is not just a video. This is an invitation to transform your relationship with yourself. If you've ever felt lost or disconnected, stay with us. There's so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% subscribed. So please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Please drop your thoughts in the comments below. And to stay energized, start by commenting Namo Buddha. Let's make this journey together. Now, let's dive into how solitude, as understood in Buddhist teachings, is not something to fear, but rather a doorway to inner peace and understanding. The Buddha's first teaching on aloneness. In the teachings of the Buddha, there's a profound lesson about aloneness that many overlook. You see, the Buddha did not shy away from the truth of human experience. And one of the most important truths is this: life is full of suffering, but the key to overcoming suffering begins with understanding aloneness. The Buddha, when he first became enlightened, sat under the Bodhi tree, realizing that the root of suffering is not just the external world, but our own attachment to it. Imagine, for a moment, the Buddha, a young prince, having everything anyone could dream of. He had wealth, a beautiful palace, servants, and a loving family. But despite all these external pleasures, something inside him felt empty. No matter how much he had, he still felt alone in the world, trapped by the impermanence of everything around him. His understanding of this emptiness eventually led him to leave his palace, his family, and his life of luxury. This is where the Buddha's journey truly began, not in the world of possessions, but in the quiet space of solitude. This solitude, however, is not the same as loneliness. There's a crucial difference. Loneliness comes from a place of craving, of wanting to fill a void that we believe exists. Solitude, on the other hand, is a state of being present with oneself, without the distractions of the external world. When the Buddha left his life of comfort, he was not running away from the world. He was seeking the truth about the nature of suffering, and he understood that to find peace, he needed to be alone, at least for a time. In the stillness of his solitude, the Buddha meditated deeply, letting go of everything he had ever known. His mind was no longer filled with the noise of the world, his possessions, his responsibilities, his desires. For the first time, he could truly hear the whispers of his own heart, and in that silence, he discovered something incredible. He discovered that the suffering we feel in life is often not because of the world around us, but because of the way we relate to it. The Buddha saw that we create our own suffering by clinging to things that are fleeting, whether it's the people we love, the things we own, or the experiences we crave. These things are all temporary, and when they change or disappear, we're left with pain. But what if we didn't need to hold on so tightly to everything around us? What if instead we could embrace the natural flow of life, accepting that all things are born, live, and eventually fade away? The Buddha's first teaching, the Four Noble Truths, speaks directly to this. The first truth is that life involves suffering, dukkha, as it is called in Pali. But this isn't a hopeless statement. The Buddha didn't say that suffering is permanent. He simply acknowledged that it is part of the human condition. The second truth is that suffering arises from our attachments, our desire to hold on to things that are fleeting. The third truth is that suffering can be overcome by letting go of these attachments. And the fourth truth is that there's a path to the end of suffering, which is the Noble Eightfold Path. But how does this relate to loneliness? The first step is understanding that loneliness often stems from attachment. Our attachment to the idea that we must always be surrounded by others to feel complete. We fear that if we are alone, we will be lost, forgotten, or abandoned. This fear arises from our deep-seated desire for approval, love, and validation from the outside world. But what if, instead of seeking validation from others, we could find it within ourselves? What if the key to overcoming loneliness lies not in filling the emptiness with more people or more distractions, but embracing the space within ourselves? The Buddha's teachings offer a simple yet profound answer. The way out of loneliness is through understanding the impermanent nature of all things. When we realize that we cannot hold on to people, things, or experiences forever, we stop clinging to them in fear of loss. And when we stop clinging, we are free to experience life as it is, without the need for external validation. In this freedom, we find peace. This is not to say that we must become hermits or avoid relationships. Far from it. The Buddha's teachings encourage us to engage with the world, but with a sense of detachment, not in the sense of not caring, but in the sense of understanding that all things come and go. When we live with this understanding, we are no longer dependent on the external world for our happiness. We begin to find joy in the simple act of being present, of simply existing without the need for constant validation from others. Imagine what it would be like if you could live your life without the fear of being alone. What if you could enjoy your own company, finding peace in your solitude? What if, instead of feeling empty when you are by yourself, you could feel whole and content, knowing that you are enough, just as you are? This is what the Buddha discovered on his journey, and it is what he shared with the world. He showed us that true freedom comes not from the external world, but from within. In the quiet of solitude, the Buddha found his true self. Not the prince who had everything, but the awakened being who had let go of all attachments. And it was this awakening that allowed him to see the world as it truly is, impermanent, ever-changing, and full of suffering. But in that very realization, there was liberation. For once we understand that nothing is permanent, we can release our attachments and find peace in the present moment. This, then, is the first lesson of the Buddha on aloneness. To be alone is not to be lonely, but to be free. Free from the need to prove ourselves to others. Free from the fear of being abandoned. And free from the craving for things that are destined to fade. In this freedom, we find the peace that we seek. As we continue on this journey together, we will explore more of the Buddha's wisdom on how to live peacefully with ourselves, even when we are alone. But remember this, aloneness is not something to be feared or avoided. It is a sacred space, one that holds the potential for deep transformation and inner peace. It is only in the quiet of solitude that we can truly hear our own hearts and connect with the peace that lies within us all. Why we fear being alone, the illusion of separation. There's a deep, unspoken fear that comes with being alone. It's not just about being by ourselves physically, it's about feeling disconnected from the world, as if we're somehow different, isolated from others. This fear is not just a personal experience, it's a universal one. Many people, in their quest for connection, find themselves lost in the belief that they need to always be surrounded by others to feel complete. But what if this fear is based on illusion? Imagine walking into a room full of people. You smile, you chat, you try to connect. But inside, there's still a part of you that feels distant, even if you're surrounded by others. The truth is, the fear of being alone often stems from an underlying belief that we are separate from everyone else. We think that in order to feel whole, we need to be in constant connection with others. This belief makes us chase after relationships, approval, and social validation, all in an attempt to fill the emptiness we feel inside. But in reality, this emptiness isn't because we are truly alone. It's because we've forgotten our connection to ourselves and the world around us. Buddhism teaches us that everything is interconnected. Nothing exists in isolation, not even our sense of self. The idea of separation is an illusion that creates suffering. When we experience loneliness, it's often because we've been caught up in this illusion of separateness. We feel like we are isolated, that no one truly understands us, or that we are alone in our struggles. But if we take a moment to reflect, we might realize that this sense of isolation is temporary and false. It's created by our own minds, which are often clouded by attachment, craving, and fear. There's a Buddhist concept called anatta, or the doctrine of non-self. It teaches that our sense of individuality is not as fixed as we believe. Our ego, the part of us that feels separate from others, is a product of our mind, not an inherent part of who we are. The truth is, we are all interconnected. Our lives are woven together in ways we might not always see. When we begin to see this, the fear of being alone starts to lose its grip on us. Think of it like this. A tree standing alone in a field may seem separate from the other trees, but in reality, it is part of the same ecosystem. Its roots are connected to the soil, the water, and the air. The birds that rest on its branches are part of its environment. Even when the tree stands alone, it is never truly alone. It is supported by the elements of nature, and in return, it supports the life around it. We too are like that tree. Even when we feel isolated, we are connected to the world in ways we don't always see. Loneliness becomes a source of suffering when we believe that it defines us. We start to think that being alone means something is wrong with us. This belief often leads to despair and a search for external sources of happiness and fulfillment. We look for relationships, possessions, or achievements to fill the void. But these external things are not the answer. Buddhism teaches us that true fulfillment comes not from external sources, but from within. It's a shift in how we perceive our own minds and how we understand our connection to the world. One of the core teachings in Buddhism is that everything is impermanent. This means that feelings of loneliness or isolation are temporary. Just as clouds pass through the sky, so too will feelings of loneliness come and go. We don't need to hold on to these feelings or identify with them. Instead, we can observe them, understand their nature, and let them pass. When we embrace the impermanence of our feelings, we begin to realize that they don't define us. We are not our loneliness, just as we are not our thoughts or emotions. We are simply the observer of them. Another powerful teaching in Buddhism is mindfulness. Mindfulness encourages us to be fully present in the moment, without judgment or attachment. When we practice mindfulness, we start to see the truth of our thoughts and feelings without getting caught up in them. We notice that our loneliness is not a permanent state. It's just a passing feeling that doesn't define us. By practicing mindfulness, we can begin to shift our perception and see that loneliness is simply a part of the human experience, not a permanent condition. As we deepen our practice, we also learn about emptiness, the idea that nothing has inherent existence. This doesn't mean that things don't exist, but rather that everything is interdependent. Our sense of self, the world around us, and even our feelings of loneliness are all interdependent. Nothing stands alone. This realization can be liberating. It shows us that our feelings of isolation are not an intrinsic part of who we are. They arise due to our attachment to the idea of separateness. But when we release that attachment, we can experience true freedom. Think about it. When you feel alone, try to take a step back and observe your thoughts. Are you telling yourself that you are separate, that no one understands you, or that you're not enough? These thoughts are rooted in the illusion of separation. The truth is, you are not alone. The very nature of life is interconnected, and the more we understand this, the less power loneliness has over us. Instead of seeing loneliness as something to avoid or escape from, we can learn to embrace it as a part of our journey. It's an opportunity to reconnect with ourselves and with the world around us in a deeper, more meaningful way. The next time you find yourself feeling alone, remember that it's not a permanent condition. It's a feeling, not a truth. And by practicing mindfulness, compassion, and understanding the interconnectedness of all things, you can begin to dissolve the illusion of separation and see that, in reality, you are never truly alone. Just like the tree in the field, you are part of a larger whole, connected to everything around you, even when it seems like you are standing alone. The fear of being alone is not something that can be overcome overnight. It's a process of shifting our mindset, of letting go of the beliefs and attachments that keep us feeling isolated. But as we begin to see the truth of our interconnectedness, the fear fades. We begin to feel a deeper sense of peace and belonging, not because we're surrounded by others, but because we're at peace with ourselves and with the world around us. Understanding craving and attachment in isolation. When we experience solitude, it often brings with it feelings of longing or discomfort. We may feel an emptiness, a desire to fill the space with something, someone, or even a distraction. This feeling is natural. It's the mind's response to isolation. But in Buddhist teachings, we come to understand that these feelings arise from craving and attachment, two of the most powerful forces that shape our suffering. Craving is the desire to have things be a certain way, to hold onto experiences, possessions, or relationships that we believe will bring us happiness or fulfillment. We crave for things to be perfect, for people to stay, for situations to remain the same. We believe that these things will bring us lasting contentment. But this belief is where the problem lies. Everything in life is impermanent, and holding on to things or expectations creates a tension in our hearts. This craving for permanence in a world that is ever-changing only leads to disappointment. When we are alone, craving tends to show up more intensely. We long for company, for validation, for someone to share our lives with. We begin to feel that our aloneness is a sign of inadequacy, that something is missing from our lives. But if we look closely, this feeling of longing is not coming from a true need. It's coming from attachment. Attachment is the clinging to people, ideas, or possessions as if they're the source of our happiness. The truth is, we do not need to depend on anything outside of ourselves to feel whole. In Buddhist wisdom, attachment is seen as a form of suffering because it is based on the misconception that we can control the world around us. When we attach ourselves to people, we expect them to fulfill our emotional needs. When we attach ourselves to things, we expect them to give us happiness. But the reality is, everything in life is temporary. People change, circumstances shift, and possessions wear out. When we attach ourselves to these things, we are setting ourselves up for disappointment. Think about it. How many times have you sought comfort in something outside of yourself, only to feel empty once that thing was gone? Perhaps it was a relationship, a job, or even a material possession. When that source of comfort disappears, we are left feeling empty, as though something has been taken away from us. But in truth, what has really been taken is our attachment to it. It is not the object or person that brings us happiness. It is our attachment to it. The first step in breaking free from this cycle of craving and attachment is to recognize that we do not need to depend on external things for our happiness. The Buddha taught that true peace and contentment come from within. When we understand that nothing in the world is permanent, we can begin to let go of the attachment that causes us suffering. This doesn't mean that we should stop caring about others or stop pursuing things that bring us joy. It simply means that we should not attach our happiness to them. In moments of solitude, this teaching becomes especially relevant. It is in these quiet moments that we often confront our deepest cravings. We may feel the urge to fill the silence with distractions or thoughts of what we lack. But this is an opportunity to practice mindfulness and awareness. Instead of seeking something outside of ourselves to fill the void, we can turn inward and simply be present with our feelings. By observing our thoughts and emotions without judgment, we begin to create space for understanding and healing. One of the most powerful ways to break free from attachment is through mindfulness practice. When we are mindful, we observe our cravings and attachments without becoming entangled in them. We begin to see them for what they truly are, passing thoughts and emotions that do not define us. This awareness allows us to step back and choose how we respond, rather than reacting out of habit or compulsion. Consider a time when you felt an overwhelming urge to do something or obtain something. Perhaps it was to call someone, buy something, or do something that you thought would bring you relief. In that moment, you might have been driven by a craving or attachment. But if you had paused and observed that feeling without acting on it, you might have noticed that the craving eventually faded away on its own. This is the power of mindfulness, the ability to observe without becoming consumed by our desires. As we grow in our understanding of craving and attachment, we begin to recognize that they are not our true nature. Our true nature is one of peace, stillness, and clarity. The more we practice letting go of attachment, the more we begin to experience a deep sense of freedom. Freedom from a need to control, freedom from a desire to constantly seek outside validation, and freedom from the fear of being alone. In moments of solitude, we have the opportunity to practice letting go of these attachments and cravings. Instead of reaching for something to fill the space, we can sit with the emptiness and allow it to become a source of peace. The more we practice this, the more we realize that we were never truly empty. We were simply holding on to the wrong things. Buddhist teachings tell us that everything in life is interconnected. We are not separate from the world around us. Our cravings and attachments are a reflection of our misunderstanding of this interconnectedness. When we let go of attachment, we are not losing anything. Rather, we are gaining a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world. We begin to realize that we are enough, just as we are. We do not need to cling to anything outside of ourselves for validation or fulfillment. In the practice of meditation, we learn to observe our cravings without judgment. We notice them arise and then let them pass, like clouds moving across the sky. This practice helps us detach from the need to act on our desires and attachments. Over time, we begin to experience a sense of inner peace that is not dependent on external circumstances. Solitude, then, becomes an opportunity to reconnect with our true self. It is in these quiet moments that we can hear the gentle whispers of our heart, unclouded by the noise of the world. We begin to understand that we are not alone because we are always connected to the present moment, to our breath, and to the wisdom within us. By embracing solitude and practicing mindfulness, we begin to free ourselves from the chains of craving and attachment. We learn that true peace comes not from what we have or who we are with, but from the acceptance of ourselves as we are, whole, complete, and enough. In this way, we find freedom in aloneness, and we discover that we are never truly alone at all. This is the heart of Buddhist wisdom: to let go of craving, to release attachment, and to embrace the peace that comes from within. The more we practice this, the more we begin to experience the fullness of life, not in what we possess or in the relationships we have, but in the depth of our own being, turning loneliness into noble silence. In this world, loneliness can often feel like a heavy burden. It creeps into our lives when we least expect it, and sometimes it feels like there's no escape. We might look to others for comfort, for connection, or for understanding. But what if I told you that loneliness, far from being a burden, could be the very thing that opens the door to profound inner peace? What if solitude was not something to be feared, but a space for deep reflection and growth? At first glance, loneliness may seem like an empty, hollow feeling. It whispers in our hearts that we are missing something or someone, as if there's an essential part of us that is broken. We start to believe that being alone means being incomplete. This is a misunderstanding. In the Buddhist teachings, The concept of noble silence helps us understand that true peace and contentment do not come from others, but from within ourselves. It is in the silence of our own mind that we find clarity, understanding, and the ability to connect deeply with our true nature. The world is full of noise. Every day, we are surrounded by the clamor of voices, the rush of activities, and the constant pull of distractions. This noise fills our minds and makes it difficult to listen to the quiet voice of our own heart. But when we are alone, we're given the rare gift of silence. In this silence, we can hear our own thoughts, understand our emotions, and reconnect with who we truly are. This is the first step toward transforming loneliness into something valuable. In Buddhism, the practice of meditation is one of the most powerful tools for turning loneliness into a moment of inner growth. When we sit in meditation, we allow ourselves to be still, to be present, and to listen without judgment. In those moments of stillness, we often encounter our deepest fears and doubts. But instead of running from them, we face them head-on. We begin to understand that these feelings are not something to be afraid of. They are simply part of the human experience, part of our journey. As we sit in silence, we learn to be comfortable with our own company. We realize that we do not need to rely on others for validation or happiness. We are enough, just as we are. This realization is not always easy to come by, especially in a world that constantly tells us we need more. More relationships, more possessions, more achievements. But in the silence of solitude, we begin to see that we already have everything we need. We already have peace within us. There's a beautiful Buddhist practice called metta, or loving-kindness meditation, where we focus on cultivating love and compassion, first toward ourselves and then extending it to others. When we practice this meditation, we begin to understand that love does not come from others. It arises from within. We start to feel the warmth of that love, even when we are alone. This loving kindness becomes a source of strength, a reminder that we are never truly alone, because the love we seek is always within us. Loneliness also offers us a chance to reflect on the impermanence of life. In Buddhist teachings, one of the core truths is that everything is temporary. Relationships, possessions, and even emotions come and go. When we experience loneliness, it is often a reminder that nothing in this world is permanent. But rather than feeling sadness or fear at this truth, we can find peace in it. By accepting impermanence, we let go of our attachment to people, places, and things, and in doing so, we free ourselves from the fear of losing them. We realize that the only constant in life is change, and by embracing this change, we can find peace. In the practice of mindfulness, we learn to be fully present in the moment, without clinging to the past or worrying about the future. This moment, this breath, is all we have. When we are alone, we are given the opportunity to fully experience this moment, to be aware of the sights, sounds, and feelings around us. We can appreciate the simple beauty of the world, the warmth of the sun, the sound of the wind, and the stillness of the night. In this mindfulness, we connect not only with ourselves, but with the world around us. We begin to see that we are not separate from others, that all beings are interconnected, and that in this moment of solitude, we are part of something much larger. The Buddha taught that suffering arises from attachment. When we become attached to people, things, or even our own identity, we set ourselves up for pain because nothing in this world is permanent. But when we let go of attachment, we release the grip of suffering. We realize that the joy of being alive does not depend on anything external. It is found in the present moment, in the stillness of our own heart. When you are alone, you have the opportunity to observe your own thoughts and emotions without distraction. You can witness the rise and fall of your feelings without becoming overwhelmed by them. This is the practice of detachment. It does not mean that you no longer feel. It means that you do not identify with your feelings. You are not your emotions. You are the observer, the witness, the awareness itself. This practice is liberating, for it allows you to experience life without being ruled by it. As you sit with yourself in silence, you may begin to notice patterns in your mind, thoughts that arise over and over again, like old habits or unresolved emotions. These patterns can keep us stuck in feelings of loneliness, unworthiness, or fear. But as you become more aware of them, you can begin to change them. In the silence, you can observe these thoughts with compassion, without judgment, and begin to let them go. In Buddhism, the concept of non-self, or anatta, teaches us that this self is not a fixed, unchanging entity. We are not defined by our past, our circumstances, or even our feelings of loneliness. We are constantly changing, growing, and evolving. When we understand this truth, we stop identifying with our loneliness. We realize that it is just a passing experience, not who we are at our core. Being alone allows us to explore this concept of non-self. It provides a space for us to shed the layers of identity that we have built over the years and to connect with the essence of who we truly are. In this process, we discover that we are not limited by our past or our circumstances. We are limitless, vast, and free. Loneliness also offers us the chance to connect with the present moment. In the hustle and bustle of daily life, it's easy to lose sight of the beauty and richness of the present. We become consumed with what's next, what we don't have, and what we want. But when we are alone, we can fully experience the moment without distractions. We can appreciate the quiet, the stillness, and the simple joy of being alive. Through the practice of noble silence, we learn to appreciate the beauty of being alone. We come to understand that in solitude, we are not lacking anything. In fact, we are gaining everything. We are gaining clarity, understanding, and the peace that comes from being fully present with ourselves. So, the next time you feel the pangs of loneliness, remember this: it is not a curse. It is an invitation. It is an invitation to turn inward, to find peace in the silence, and to reconnect with the love and wisdom that reside within you. Solitude, when embraced with mindfulness, becomes a powerful tool for personal growth and spiritual awakening. You are not alone. You never have been. The peace you seek is always within you. It is in the stillness. It is in the silence. And it is waiting for you to discover it. Compassion starts with you, loving kindness practice. In the quiet moments of solitude, when the world seems distant and the weight of being alone feels heavy, there is one powerful tool that can transform everything: compassion. It might seem strange to speak of compassion when we feel isolated or alone, but it is precisely in these moments that compassion can be the balm for our aching hearts. Compassion, in its purest form, begins within. It is not something that can be given by others. It is something we must cultivate for ourselves, especially in times of loneliness. You see, when you feel alone, it's easy to believe that no one cares for you. The mind begins to tell stories of abandonment and rejection, feeding into the feeling of emptiness. But what if, instead of waiting for someone to show you love, you could begin by loving yourself? Compassion is not just about being kind to others, but first and foremost, it is about being kind to yourself. It is about offering yourself the same care, patience, and understanding that you would give to a dear friend. In Buddhism, there's a practice known as metta, or loving-kindness meditation. It is a practice where you direct loving thoughts and goodwill toward yourself and others. In this meditation, you begin by wishing yourself happiness, peace, and well-being. This might sound simple, but for many of us, it can be the most difficult step to take. How many times have we criticized ourselves for being alone, for feeling incomplete, for not meeting some ideal version of ourselves? How often do we forget to treat ourselves with kindness? Start with yourself. Close your eyes for a moment, take a deep breath, and silently repeat these words. May I be happy. May I be peaceful. May I be free from suffering. Say them with sincerity, even if it feels foreign at first. Feel the warmth of these words wrapping around your heart like a gentle embrace. You deserve this kindness. You deserve to feel whole, even in solitude. When you offer yourself compassion, you begin to break the walls of loneliness. You start to see yourself not as incomplete, but as a whole being, worthy of love, and understanding. As you continue practicing metta, you expand your compassion beyond yourself. You begin to send these thoughts of well-being to others in your life, to people you may not know, to all living beings. You will notice that the more compassion you offer, the less alone you will feel. Compassion creates connections that are not bound by space or time. It is a universal language that speaks to the heart. Even if you are physically alone, you are never truly alone when you carry compassion in your heart. This is a key lesson in Buddhism. Our minds are often caught in cycles of self-judgment, fear, and doubt. But compassion helps us break free from these patterns. When you cultivate compassion, you open yourself to the beauty of life as it is. You stop seeing loneliness as a burden and begin to see it as a space for personal growth, a space where you can develop the greatest strength, inner peace. Buddha taught that suffering is an inevitable part of life, but he also taught that the way out of suffering is through understanding, through mindfulness, and through compassion. So, when you're feeling alone, instead of letting it overwhelm you, try shifting your perspective. See the solitude not as a punishment, but as an opportunity for growth. It is in this space that you can nurture your compassion, your ability to care for yourself and others without expectations, without attachment. Let's take a moment to reflect. How often do we seek comfort outside of ourselves, looking for someone else to fill the empty spaces? While connection with others is important, it should not be the sole source of our happiness. True happiness comes from within. When we can be at peace with ourselves, when we can offer ourselves the love and kindness we deserve, we no longer need to seek validation from the outside world. You may ask, but what if I still feel lonely? What if I still crave connection with others? It's natural to feel this way, and it's okay. It's part of being human. But remember, your ability to love yourself, to be compassionate to yourself, create a foundation for all other relationships. When you practice loving kindness towards yourself, you become a magnet for positive energy. You attract people who resonate with your peaceful, loving presence. This is not about being perfect, but about being genuine. Take this simple practice with you every day. Start each morning with a moment of self-compassion. No matter what happens during your day, remind yourself that you are worthy of love. You are enough just as you are. And when you face moments of loneliness, don't shy away from them. Instead, embrace them. Use them as an opportunity to deepen your compassion and understanding. In Buddhism, there's a concept called interbeing. It teaches us that we are all connected, that no one is ever truly separate from another. Even in our moments of solitude, we are part of the greater web of life. Compassion allows us to tap into this deeper connection, helping us to see that even though we may be physically alone at times, we are never truly disconnected from the world around us. The more you practice compassion, the more you will notice subtle changes in your life. You will find that you carry less weight in your heart, less resistance to your emotions. You will learn to treat yourself with the same care you would give to someone you love deeply. And slowly, the feeling of being alone will begin to fade, replaced by a profound sense of peace and contentment. So, when loneliness knocks on your door, meet it with compassion. When you feel the sting of isolation, surround yourself with kindness. You are never as alone as you think. You have the power to heal your own heart, to embrace yourself fully, and to walk forward with grace. Compassion starts with you. It's the first step towards transforming your life, turning solitude into a source of strength, and finding true peace within yourself. The power of mindfulness when no one is watching. There's a moment in each of our lives when we realize that everything we do alone. It's easy to feel that we need someone watching us to keep us grounded, to help us stay on track. But here's the truth. The most important moments of growth and peace happen when no one is around, when it's just you and your thoughts. It's in these quiet moments, often unnoticed by others, that we shape who we truly are. Mindfulness is a powerful tool we can use when we are alone. It is the practice of being fully aware of the present moment, without judgment, without the need for external validation. You see, the world around us constantly demands attention. Our jobs, our families, our friends, all pull us in different directions. We're taught to always be doing something, always striving, always proving ourselves. But when we're alone, it's easy to feel that we're not enough. That somehow we need to fill the silence with noise, with distractions to avoid facing what's inside. Yet, mindfulness offers a different path. Instead of running away from the silence, we are taught to sit with it. It is in the stillness that we find clarity. Buddhist teachings often emphasize that the mind is like a calm lake. When the water is still, the surface reflects the sky perfectly. But when the water is disturbed, it becomes cloudy and the reflection is lost. In the same way, when we allow ourselves to be present with our thoughts, without rushing to escape or distract ourselves, the mind becomes clear. We begin to see things as they truly are. Being mindful means being aware of everything around us. Our breath, the sounds, the sensations in our body, and simply allowing them to exist. It's about noticing the smallest things, like the way a breeze feels on your skin or the way the light changes as the day moves forward. These moments may seem insignificant, but they are rich with meaning. It's in these moments of quiet attention that we start to understand ourselves more deeply. You don't need anyone's approval to be mindful. In fact, mindfulness is something you do for yourself, not for others. When no one is watching, it doesn't matter. The beauty of mindfulness is that it doesn't require a stage, a spotlight, or an audience. It exists in the small, intimate moments of your life. It's when you sit alone in a room and pay attention to your thoughts without judgment. It's when you take a walk and truly notice the world around you, without rushing from one place to the next. It's when you sit down to eat and savor each bite, not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because you're giving yourself the gift of presence. There's something deeply liberating about realizing that you don't need to prove anything to anyone. In our busy world, we often think that value is tied to achievement, to how much we can do or produce. But mindfulness teaches us that simply existing in the present moment is enough. This is where real peace begins. You begin to realize that you are enough, just as you are, without needing to chase after external validation. In Buddhism, the practice of mindfulness is not about trying to achieve something grand or extraordinary. It's about embracing the simplicity of being present. It's about noticing the small details that make up the fabric of your life. The way your feet feel as they touch the earth, the sound of your breath as it enters and leaves your body, the sensations in your body as you sit or stand. These details are not just passing moments. They're the threads that weave together your experience of life. But how do we stay present when distractions are everywhere? How do we cultivate mindfulness in a world that constantly pulls us in 1,000 directions? It starts with small steps. You don't need to meditate for hours every day to begin practicing mindfulness. Start with simple moments. Take a few minutes each day to sit quietly and focus on your breath. When you're walking, notice the sensation of your feet touching the ground. When you're eating, savor each bite. In these simple actions, you begin to train your mind to focus on the present, rather than being pulled into the past or future. Mindfulness also teaches us to be kind to ourselves. When we're alone, it's easy to be hard on ourselves. We might replay past mistakes or worry about the future. But mindfulness invites us to let go of judgment. It invites us to see our thoughts without getting caught up in them. If we make a mistake, we don't need to berate ourselves. We simply acknowledge it and move on. Mindfulness is not about perfection. It's about acceptance. It's about being gentle with yourself, even in moments of discomfort. As you practice mindfulness, you start to notice that you are more present in your daily life. You begin to experience moments of clarity where everything feels aligned. You feel more connected to yourself, to the world around you, and to the people you love. The noise of the world fades into the background, and you are left with a deep sense of peace. It's a peace that doesn't depend on anything outside of yourself. It's a peace that is always there, waiting for you to return to it, even in moments of chaos. The true power of mindfulness is that it helps us reconnect with the most important person in our lives, ourselves. We can spend our whole lives seeking validation, trying to measure up to others, But mindfulness shows us that we don't need anyone's approval to be whole. When we are mindful, we start to understand our own thoughts, feelings, and desires. We become more attuned to what truly matters to us, rather than being swayed by the opinions of others. And the more we practice mindfulness, the more we begin to see the interconnectedness of all things. We realize that, even though we may be physically alone at times, we are never truly isolated. Our breath, our thoughts, our actions, they're all part of a larger tapestry. The more present we become, the more we recognize the beauty of life, even in its simplest forms. So, when no one is watching, remember this. Mindfulness is not just something you do. It is something you are. It is a way of being fully awake in the world. It is about noticing the details that others might overlook, finding beauty in the ordinary, and creating space for peace in your heart. The practice of mindfulness can transform your life, even in moments of solitude, by helping you reconnect with the true essence of who you are. Letting go of the past, stories we tell ourselves. The past. We all carry it with us, like a heavy bag we can never quite put down. We tell ourselves stories about who we were, who we wanted to be, and who we think we should have been. These stories shape us. They influence the way we see ourselves, the way we act, and the way we interact with the world. But have you ever wondered how much of who you are today is truly based on the present moment, and how much is still tied to the past? Imagine carrying a backpack that gets heavier every day. Inside, you place memories, some pleasant, others painful. You add thoughts of old mistakes, regrets, and missed opportunities. Over time, the weight becomes unbearable. You might even forget you're carrying it. But one day you stop and ask, why am I still holding on to this? This is the moment when you begin to question the stories you've been telling yourself. Buddhism teaches us that our attachment to the past is one of the primary causes of suffering. We cling to our memories, believing they define who we are. We allow past hurt to dictate our present joy. The mind is like a mirror, constantly reflecting everything we've experienced, but it can also distort reality if we keep looking at the past rather than seeing what's right in front of us. The Buddha spoke about the nature of attachment and how it keeps us trapped in cycles of pain and longing. We think that by holding on to the past, we can somehow prevent future mistakes, but in reality, we are only binding ourselves to old wounds. The past cannot be changed. What happened is finished. The only power we truly have is in the present moment, and in that moment, we are free. But freedom doesn't come easily. It requires effort and awareness. Letting go of the past is not a simple task. It's a practice. Just as a tree must shed its leaves each season to grow, we too must learn to release what no longer serves us. Holding onto the past keeps us stuck, preventing us from experiencing the fullness of life as it is now. And yet, we often hesitate. We're afraid of letting go because we fear losing a part of ourselves. But the truth is, the more we let go, the more we find the essence of who we truly are, free from the stories that once defined us. It's important to remember that letting go is not about forgetting. It's not about erasing the past or pretending it never happened. Letting go is about recognizing that we do not need to carry the burden of past pain, guilt, or anger. We can honor our experiences without letting them control us. The past shaped us, yes, but it does not have to define us. Consider a time in your life when you experienced hurt or disappointment. How did it affect you? How did it shape the way you view yourself or others? Often, we hold on to these feelings, believing that they are a part of who we are. But the more we hold on to them, the more we allow them to rule our present, making us react out of fear rather than wisdom. Letting go means allowing those old feelings to dissolve, not by force, but by simply choosing not to give them power anymore. It might help to think of the past as a cloud that passes by. The cloud represents your memories, your thoughts, your past self. But just as the sky remains clear after a cloud passes, so too can your true nature remain untouched by past experiences. You are not your memories. You are not the mistakes you've made. You're the space in which those memories arise and pass away. The more you recognize this, the more freedom you gain. One powerful Buddhist practice to help with this release is mindfulness. Mindfulness invites us to observe the present moment without judgment or attachment. When you sit quietly without distraction, you begin to notice the thoughts and memories that arise in your mind. Instead of trying to push them away or hold on to them, you simply acknowledge them and let them pass. This practice teaches you that you are not your thoughts or your past. You are the observer, the silent witness to the unfolding of each moment. In your daily life, you can begin to practice letting go by being mindful of when your thoughts drift to the past. Notice how your body reacts to these memories. Do you feel tense, anxious, or sad? Pay attention to how the past affects you physically and emotionally. By becoming aware of these patterns, you can begin to break the cycle of attachment. Slowly, you can train your mind to return to the present, where you have the power to choose how you respond. Another way to let go is through forgiveness. Forgiveness is not about excusing someone's actions or forgetting what happened. It's about releasing the hold that the past has on you. When you forgive, you free yourself from the burden of resentment, anger, and regret. Forgiveness is an act of compassion, not just for others, but for yourself. It allows you to heal and move forward with a lighter heart. Buddhism also teaches the concept of impermanence. Everything in life is constantly changing. Your thoughts, your emotions, and your circumstances are not fixed. They arise and fade away. Just as a river flows and carries away debris, your past can be carried away by the current of time, leaving you with a clear and open space to move forward. Understanding impermanence helps you see that holding onto the past is like trying to hold onto the water in a river. It's futile. Let it flow and allow yourself to be carried into a new moment. You might wonder, if I let go of my past, who will I be? This is a valid question. We often fear losing our identity if we let go of the past. But the truth is, letting go allows you to discover who you really are beyond the stories and labels you've attached to yourself. You are not your past mistakes, your old wounds, or your former selves. You are the person who has the power to choose how to live in the present. Letting go doesn't erase who you've been. It frees you to become who you are meant to be. As you continue on this journey, remember that letting go is a process. It's not something that happens overnight. But with patience, mindfulness, and self-compassion, you can slowly release the past and make room for a brighter future. The key is to start. Every small step you take toward releasing old attachments is a step toward greater freedom, peace, and clarity. When you free yourself from the past, you open the door to new possibilities. You begin to see the world not through the lens of what has happened, but through the lens of what is possible now. This moment is all you have, and it is enough. Let go of what no longer serves you, and embrace the fullness of your life as it is now. In doing so, you will find peace, joy, and a deep sense of freedom that can only come from living fully in the present moment. Solitude as spiritual strength. Lessons from monastics. In the silence of the monastery, where the world fades away, there's a lesson about solitude that few truly understand. When we look at monastics, those who choose a life of solitude, it's easy to think they are running away from life. But the truth is, they're running towards something far more profound. They seek to understand the deep connection between themselves and the universe, not by escaping the world, but by embracing it in its most raw form. They are not lonely, they are alone. And there's a big difference between the two. Solitude is not about being cut off from the world. It is about finding peace within it. The monastics live in a way that allows them to experience the world fully without being weighed down by it. They do not look for distractions or seek to fill every moment with noise. Instead, they focus inward, quieting the mind, and in that quiet they find their true selves. They understand that only by being fully present in the moment can they truly connect with the essence of life. In today's world, we often think that we need to be busy, to always be doing something to fill the emptiness. But what if the emptiness isn't something to fill, but something to explore? What if the moments of stillness in our lives are opportunities for growth, not something to escape from. The monastics teach us that in the stillness, we find clarity. We find truth. We find a space where we can reconnect with who we really are. When you are alone, the world slows down. The distractions fall away. It's in these quiet moments that you can finally hear the whispers of your heart. But for most of us, this is uncomfortable. We are so used to the noise, the chatter, the constant hum of activity. Silence feels strange, and in that strangeness, we can feel a sense of unease. But the monastics have learned to sit with this unease. They've learned that it's not a sign of something wrong, but a sign of growth. Growth doesn't happen in the noise. It happens in the silence. Think about a time when you were alone and felt uncomfortable with the silence. What did you do? Did you reach for your phone, put on some music, or find something else to do? This is natural. We've been conditioned to avoid stillness because it forces us to confront our own thoughts and feelings. But in Buddhism, there's a practice known as sitting with discomfort. It's the practice of allowing yourself to be present with whatever arises, without judgment, without needing to change it. The monastics do this in their daily lives. They sit in silence, without expectation, just being with themselves. And in this practice, they find peace. When we talk about solitude, we often think about it as a lonely experience, but loneliness is a state of mind, not a reality. Loneliness comes from a feeling of disconnection from others, from life itself. But solitude is different. Solitude is a choice. It's a space where you can be with yourself, without distractions, without anyone else's expectations. And in that space, you can discover your true essence. The monastics show us that solitude is not something to fear or avoid. It is something to embrace. When you are alone, you're not alone in the universe. You are connected to everything around you, and you can only see that clearly when you allow yourself to be still and present. Solitude offers a chance to reconnect with the natural world. When you are alone, there is no one to distract you from the beauty that surrounds you. The sound of the wind in the trees, the rustle of leaves, the song of a bird, it all becomes more vivid. In this way, solitude brings you closer to nature, to the rhythms of the earth. The monastics understand this connection. They spend their days in nature, walking through the fields, meditating under the trees, listening to the quiet wisdom that the world has to offer. They don't need anything more than what is already around them. Everything they need is right there in the silence. Solitude also teaches patience. In our fast-paced world, we want everything now. We rush through life, hoping to get to the next thing, to fill the next moment. But in solitude, there's no rushing. There's only being. The monastics teach us that patience is not a passive waiting, but an active engagement with the present moment. When you are alone, there's no need to hurry. There's no deadline. There's no need to be anywhere but where you are. Patience is the ability to accept the present as it is, without wanting it to be different. The monastics live in this patience, and through it, they find peace. One of the greatest lessons that solitude brings is the ability to reflect. When you are alone, there are no external voices telling you what to think or how to feel. You are free to listen to your own inner voice. This voice, however quiet, has always been there. It is the voice of wisdom, of intuition, of your true self. But we often drown it out with the noise of the world. Solitude allows this voice to rise to the surface. It allows you to hear it clearly and to act upon it. The monastics trust this inner voice. They know that it is the path to true wisdom, and that by following it, they are walking in alignment with the universe. In solitude, the monastics also learn the importance of impermanence. Everything is temporary. The feelings of loneliness, the thoughts of isolation, they all come and go. When you are alone, you begin to realize that nothing lasts forever. Not the moments of joy, not the moments of pain, and certainly not the moments of solitude. Impermanence teaches you to accept things as they are, knowing that they will change. The monastics live with this understanding, and it brings them peace. They are not attached to their solitude, nor do they fear it. They accept it as part of life's natural flow. Solitude is also a mirror. It reflects back to you the things you may have been avoiding. In the quiet, you are forced to confront the things you may not want to see about yourself. This is why many people avoid being alone. They are afraid of what they might discover. But the monastics show us that this confrontation is not something to fear. It is something to embrace. Through it, you come to know yourself on a deeper level. You begin to understand the patterns in your thoughts, the ways you react to the world, and the reasons behind your actions. This self-awareness is the key to true transformation. When you embrace solitude, you also begin to develop a deep sense of self-reliance. You no longer depend on others to make you feel whole. You no longer look for external validation. The monastics live with this deep sense of self-reliance. They do not need anyone else to complete them. They find their strength within. And this is the power of solitude. It teaches you to stand on your own, to be your own source of peace and contentment. When you learn to be content in your own company, you become truly free. Finally, solitude teaches us the power of simplicity. In the silence, you realize how much of life is unnecessary. The distractions, the constant noise, the endless pursuit of more. It all fades away when you are alone. The monastics live simply with only what they need. They understand that true happiness does not come from possessions or achievements, but from the peace that comes from within. Solitude helps you to strip away the clutter of life and to focus on what truly matters: connection, peace, and inner wisdom. In solitude, you discover that you are never truly alone. You are always connected to the world around you, to the rhythm of life, to the energy of the universe. The monastics understand this. They live in the world, but they are not of it. They are not isolated. They're deeply connected to everything. Solitude, as they show us, is not a place of emptiness, but a space where you can connect to the fullness of life. When you embrace solitude, you are not walking away from the world. You are walking deeper into it, finding strength and peace in the quiet spaces where others fear to tread. Building a new inner relationship, the middle way. At this point in our journey, the idea of solitude has started to shift in your mind. No longer do you see loneliness as something to be feared or avoided. Instead, you may have started to recognize that being alone is not necessarily a curse. It's simply an opportunity, an invitation to look within. But now the real work begins. How do you relate to yourself when there is no one else around? How do you build a connection with yourself that is as deep and meaningful as any connection you would seek from another? In the past, perhaps you've sought validation from others, from friends, family, or even strangers. You may have looked for comfort in their approval, their words, their presence. But what if you were to learn how to give that comfort to yourself? What if you could cultivate an inner peace so strong that you didn't need anyone else to feel complete? The answer lies in the middle way, the path that Buddha taught as the key to finding balance in all aspects of life. The middle way is about finding a path between extremes. In life, we often swing between two opposite poles, the desire for constant companionship and the fear of being alone. But the middle way teaches us that we don't need to go to either extreme. We can find contentment in solitude without desperately needing to fill the silence with distractions. We can seek companionship, but not at the cost of losing ourselves. The middle way shows us how to build a relationship with ourselves that is rooted in peace and acceptance. When we talk about building an inner relationship, we are not simply talking about getting used to being alone. This is not about enduring solitude out of necessity. Instead, it is about discovering the joy that can be found in your own company. Buddha taught that we should not depend on external circumstances or relationships for happiness. True happiness, he said, comes from within. When you begin to look inward and realize that you already have everything you need to feel whole, your relationship with yourself becomes something rich, fulfilling, and ultimately transformative. The journey to building a new inner relationship starts with accepting who you are, without judgment or fear. Many of us carry inner stories about ourselves, stories that say we are not good enough, not worthy of love, we're not capable of finding happiness. These stories can be loud and persistent, often shaped by past experiences or the way others have treated us. But Buddhist teachings remind us that these stories are not our truth. They're just the product of the mind's tendency to grasp at things that are not real or permanent. As you begin to look deeper within, start by noticing your thoughts. Observe how your mind constantly shifts from one thought to another. You may find yourself criticizing or doubting, or perhaps feeling lonely or sad. But these thoughts are not you. They're simply mental patterns that arise and pass away. The more you observe them without attaching to them, the clearer it becomes that you're not defined by your thoughts. You are the observer, the one who can witness these thoughts without being overwhelmed by them. In the practice of mindfulness, you are encouraged to sit quietly and be present with whatever arises, whether it's a thought, a feeling, or a sensation. Over time, this practice helps you realize that your mind is not your enemy. It is a tool. It is the lens through which you experience the world, but it does not define you. The more you can sit with your thoughts without judgment, the more space you create for self-acceptance. One powerful aspect of the middle way is its emphasis on balance. It's easy to fall into the trap of either resisting your thoughts and emotions or becoming overwhelmed by them. Buddha teaches that the path to peace lies in neither of these extremes. Instead, practice equanimity. Equanimity means being able to face both the highs and lows of life without getting too attached to either. It means you can experience the joys and sorrows of life without letting them define your sense of self-worth. In doing so, you cultivate a relationship with yourself that is steady, calm, and free from the fluctuations of external circumstances. As you build this new inner relationship, remember that it's a process. It's not about achieving perfection or never feeling lonely again. Rather, it's about creating a deep sense of comfort within yourself, so that when you are alone, you no longer feel empty. You begin to realize that the very act of being present with yourself can be a source of great joy. You don't need anyone else to fill the space. You are whole, just as you are. In practical terms, this means taking time each day to check in with yourself. You might do this through meditation, journaling, or simply sitting quietly and breathing. Ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? Let yourself feel whatever comes up, whether it's joy, sadness, frustration, or peace. Don't rush to change it. Just notice it. This practice helps you connect with your true self, the one that exists beyond the distractions of the world. It is also important to practice self-compassion as part of this process. We are often our harshest critics, especially when we are alone with our thoughts. But self-compassion allows us to be kind to ourselves when we feel vulnerable, when we feel we've made mistakes, or when we feel lonely. Instead of criticizing ourselves for feeling a certain way, we can simply acknowledge our feelings and offer ourselves the same love and understanding we would offer a dear friend. As you continue to develop this inner relationship, you may begin to notice something remarkable. The more love, kindness, and acceptance you offer yourself, the more you are able to offer others. When you no longer rely on others to fulfill you, you are free to give without expectation. This is the beauty of the middle way. It leads you not only to peace within, but also to more harmonious relationships with others. In the quiet moments of solitude, you will discover that you have everything you need within you. You have the capacity to love, to heal, and to find joy in the simplest of moments. As you learn to build a deep and fulfilling relationship with yourself, you will realize that being alone does not mean being abandoned. It means you are at home with who you are, and that, my friend, is the greatest gift you can give yourself. The middle way teaches that we are neither completely alone nor entirely dependent on others. We are always connected to the world around us, and yet we have the power to find peace and contentment in our own company. As you walk this path, remember that solitude is not a punishment, but a gift, an opportunity to build a relationship with yourself that will lead to lasting happiness and inner freedom. You have walked a long path, quietly, step by step, breath by breath. And here you are, still standing, still breathing, still walking. The path of aloneness has not broken you. It has shaped you. It has not closed you off. It has opened something deep within you, something that perhaps you had forgotten. Your own presence, your own heart, your own calm light. Many people fear being alone. They think it means being unwanted, unloved, or left behind. But as you now understand, being alone is not the same as being lonely. Loneliness is a feeling that comes and goes, just like the clouds in the sky. But aloneness, true aloneness, is not sadness, is spacious, is peaceful. It is the quiet presence of your own being, standing in the stillness of life. There's a moment in every person's life when they must sit with themselves and listen, not to the noise of the world, not to the thoughts of fear or regret, but to the gentle rhythm of their own breath. When you sit quietly and breathe, you begin to hear the sound beneath all other sounds, the silence of your true nature. That silence is not empty. It is full of calm, full of strength, full of clarity. In Buddhism, we do not run from aloneness. We enter it like a room with wide, open doors. We bow to it. We thank it, because it teaches us everything the world cannot. It teaches us how to sit still with our pain. It teaches us how to smile without needing a reason. It teaches us how to love without clinging. And in time, we learn that the fear of being alone was only the mind not knowing what peace feels like. You're not broken. You are not forgotten. You are not lacking. You are simply returning to the simplicity of your own being. The Buddha himself left the palace, walked alone through forests, sat under trees in silence, and looked deeply into his own mind. In that deep silence, truth revealed itself. The truth was not outside of him. It was inside, always. And so it is for you. Maybe for years, you searched for meaning in relationships, jobs, achievements, noise. Maybe you gave your heart to people who could not see you. Maybe you waited for others to love you the way you longed to be loved. And perhaps they did not. But now you see, the greatest love is the one you give yourself. The deepest company is your own soul, sitting quietly beside you, asking nothing, needing nothing, just being. When you feel alone, remember this. You are not alone. You are with the trees, with the wind, with the sky. You are with your breath. You are with the same life that flows through every being. Every step you take is a prayer. Every moment you sit in stillness is a return to the temple within. And that temple has always been open for you. Yes, you may live alone. Yes, there may be no one calling you today. No one knocking at your door. But the birds still sing. The air still moves. The sun still rises. The heart still beats. And in this rhythm of life, you are deeply connected to everything. Nothing is missing. Nothing is wrong. Sometimes people will ask, how can I live alone? And the Zen answer is, first, just live. Be where you are. Drink your tea. Fold your clothes with care. Sweep the floor. Water the plants. Breathe deeply. Smile gently. These small acts are not ordinary. They are sacred. They are reminders that life is here, now, and you are part of it. Not separate, not forgotten, just as you are. When the mind says, but I am alone, you can gently say, yes, and that is okay. There is no need to resist, no need to fight, no need to pretend. Just be honest. Just be present. Just breathe. In the breath, everything becomes clear. In the breath, you return home. The Buddha taught that everything changes. This too shall pass. Feelings come and go. People come and go. Situations rise and fall. But the awareness behind it all remains. That awareness is who you truly are. Quiet, watching, peaceful. No matter what happens outside, inside, you can stay calm. Do not wait for others to come and save you. You're already whole. The more you sit with yourself, the more you will see that there's a calm center in you that no storm can touch. This is your true refuge. This is what Buddha's practice shows us. Not how to escape the world, but how to return to it, clear-eyed and strong, even when we are alone. You have come to the end of this journey, but really, it is only the beginning. Now, you walk forward with new eyes. Now, you carry the silence with strength. Now, when others feel lost in their loneliness, you could be a light. Not because you fixed everything, but because you learned how to be with yourself, gently, patiently, without fear. So when the night feels long, sit quietly. When the world feels distant, breathe deeply. When no one calls, smile softly. You are here. You are alive. You are not alone. This is the gift of aloneness. It brings you back to yourself. It opens your heart to the present moment. It teaches you how to live with peace, even in the quietest hours. And it shows you that within the silence, there's a deep, unshakable joy. There's so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% subscribe. If this journey touched your heart, if you felt seen, heard, or comforted, please like the video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe to our channel, Wisdom Woven. And if you're still here, please drop a comment that says, Namo Buddha, to keep your energy steady and your path strong. Your words matter. Your presence matters. Now, go forward in peace. Your aloneness is not a prison. It is a doorway, a sacred doorway to freedom. And you, dear one, have the key.